another episode of the Douglas the Dean podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. So, as we prep for by the time this is going to air, or by the time I put this up, be a few hours or so, or a few minutes before, or the Royal Rumble will actually be happening. So I'm going to do a very brief recap before I start running my chops, basically about the things that I predicted last year, or if someone would call it predictions, I guess. I basically, if you go back into my archives of last year's Royal Rumble, my commentary was, what I would do basically, I said, it'd be nice if they did something new, something fresh, which would be have Charlotte win. Charlotte goes for the NXT title, yada, yada, yada. And what happened? I also predicted, not in that episode, but if you go down further in the archives, I told you that the various companies were going to start teaming up to go up against the big machine. And what do you see now? Right now, you're seeing AEW with Impact. And I think the next step is probably going to be ROH. If not, there's definitely going to be New Japan. That New Japan is definitely happening. You can forget that with the old guard moving out of the position that was in New Japan. I don't know the person's name, but I know that they had promised to bring in New Japan something like $250 million before this is pandemonium, and that person has moved on and someone else stepped in. But anyhow, sidebar. Let's get with the ish right now, which is the 2021 Royal Rumble. What I did is I studied last year's Royal Rumble, just so that the thoughts would be more accurate in my head. As far as the men's Royal Rumble, as far as surprises, I mean, like the people that I counted, they were like last year, there were like 2 NXT people. It was Keith Lee and it was Matt Riddle. I hope they do not bring up Killer Cross, because I don't want to see him get eliminated, especially with the way his track record is going right now. It would just whatever. I'd be interested in seeing Timothy Thatcher, if he's going to, surprise. And the Latin cat. I don't know if he's black and Latino or just Latino with the long hair. He has a martial arts background, the deep voice. It was rumored that they were going to bring him up, and then Roman nixed it because the storyline wasn't strong enough. That's pretty much it. I don't think they're going to bring up Ciampa, because Ciampa's like, from what I read between the lines when he said if they moved him up, he was going to retire. So I don't see him, I mean, then again, they say it's a one night thing and he pops up. It is what it is. I'm not sure. I don't think Gargano, I don't know. The only thing that what I would do, let me just play this clip for you. It's something that stood out to me, and I said, oh, very interesting. And then there was an announcement last week.
Boy, this is one of those matches you play on 2K. You make up a fantasy match, Reigns versus Edge. You get to see it here tonight, live at the Royal Rumble. There is no way in the world I thought I would see this. And look at Edge and Reigns unloading blows on each other.
So yeah, I would set up so that Edge would win and he can square off against Roman. Let's just, if you dream big, continue to dream big, and imagine if your WrestleMania is going to be to a packed crowd. You want to get as many viewers, especially you want to impress the Peacock Network, NBC Universal, since you've made that transition over with selling your network over there. I'm not sure a Shinsuke Nakamura, Roman Reigns, is going to bring all the fans to the yard, but that's what I would do. I would set up Edge and Roman, especially. I thought that I read somewhere that Edge was doing a lot of producing and creative for SmackDown. It could be Raw. I don't know. You can still keep him on Raw, and then he just wants to battle Roman Reigns. Prior to me watching that, the idea that I had a few months back leading into it would have been just to do a reboot, because you had no crowd, no audience, and I don't know how they're going to have a smaller audience this year, whatever. My reboot slash remix would have consisted of Brock Lesnar appearing and basically having to square off against McIntyre again. So maybe he'd win the Royal Rumble, or I don't know what's going to happen at the next pay-per-view or whatever, but he'd have to face Brock again somehow. I don't know if there'd even be a title, exchange. I didn't think like that far, but I just thought that it would be cool to watch that match happen again in front of a bigger audience. So whatever it is they're going to do is what they're going to do. I'm not going to lose my ish over it. I never lose my ish over it now with this company. Now, as you may know, my focus usually lies with the women's divisions in all of the companies that I review. So, I initially, a few months back, had a wish list, I guess, of the people that I thought were going to pop up. You know how they do the surprises. And upon watching last year's Rumble, basically probably about 90 minutes prior to me recording this right now, I realized that they had 9 women from NXT in the Rumble, and you had three people, I think, that I'm classifying as throwbacks. It was Kelly. It was Beth Phoenix and Molly Holly. Everyone else was recent within the division, and within Raw and SmackDown, and anything else was NXT. Oh, okay, 4 if you want to count Santino Morello as far as throwbacks. Okay. Anywho, I initially thought that there was a possibility, and I mean, look, anything could happen, but yeah, I'll just spit it out and give you my reasons why. I know that there had been a lot of, the past, say, month and a half, there had been some, I've seen a couple of interviews with Trish Stratus, and some lead-ins and teasers with Trish and Sasha Banks. So I was wondering if it was a possibility that she would pop up. I know if she's popping up, then Mickie James would pop up and they'd square off again and yada, yada, yada. I also had a side story, but this is just my makings. There's no way that company is going to pull that off. Well, maybe you'd have Trish and Mickie have a small run for the tag titles. A nice little 3 to 6 month run or something like that, or something that can get them into SummerSlam. As far I'm talking about the company. I mean, since there's not going to be any audience, he doesn't really have to go for the big. I mean, he may need something so that people can buzz about, which is, I guess the goal for every pay-per-view, for every company in general. I'm wondering if we're going to either see Melina or Eva Marie or both pop up. I don't know at this point. I also thought that the Bella twins would pop up, and I'm even thinking about it even more when I just saw the interview yesterday. Read the interview about them saying that they wanted to pop up, I think, for next year's WrestleMania, or for the WrestleMania that's in Hollywood, and that's 2023. Sometimes they put out those little breadcrumbs and then they pop up. I could see Nikki popping up at the Rumble more so than I could Brie at this point if that were going to happen. Definitely, I'm expecting Kairi Sane to show up. I'd be happy if she did. More than likely, Naomi's going to make her return, and it's all about what gear is she going to rock. And if she's going to do like the Kofi / jumping. It's really weird because I didn't remember that Kofi didn't do the stint, the him jumping stint. Basically the same thing that he and Naomi doing the same thing. He just got eliminated by Brock last year, so I guess they just went in a different direction. But he's injured this year, so I don't think he's going to be returning unless he does make his return tomorrow, because I forgot who's been, I think it's the Hurt Business, they've been shouting. Oh, it's Ali. Has been shouting his name out. So yeah, he might actually return. This might be a setup for a Mania run. Now that match, if they really, really do it really well, that could be a really good WrestleMania match. That could be a barn burner. That could be the match that you never see coming. So we know, Niall's going to show up. Nikki Cross. Lana's probably going to make her return more than anything. Lacey Evans is going to pop up. The usuals. I would love to see, and this is just something that I would do. It would be a cool idea if you gave Billie Kay a headset rather than giving her a microphone. She has a headset and she comes out, with a folder with of course the headshot and the resume. And you give her the headset, a la like a Janet Jackson, Bobby Brown type thing she wears in her head around the thing. And this is going to be short lived. You let her get into the ring, and she's giving, doing her little. First, she do her commentary with whoever's at the commentary stuff. Whoever's doing the commentary, she would run her mouth, and they'd be telling her she has to get in the ring. Or what you could do is she'd get into the ring, run her mouth, take out the headshot and resume, do the gimmick, and then say she does it like twice. Someone would take the headshot and resume, they throw it out. She runs out the ring to go get it, comes back in, does the same thing until it's like someone like Shayna Baszler just completely rips it up. And the comedy would also be that she runs out the ring, and throughout maybe she has more headshots and resumes that are like hidden. So they would be she'd have another one that would be underneath the ring, and another one that would be underneath the commentary table. So you would just keep her there just for comedy, throughout. The old man loves to do comedy. What better way to really provide comedy, because I really do think that she's over. I wasn't expecting Sonya Deville to show up on SmackDown a few weeks back, so that was surprising. I really thought that she was just going to make her return on the Rumble, rather. I had a concept for that I thought would be cool, which would be to do a repeat of what they did last year, but it's updated. Someone tossing Mandy out, have Otis there, saves her, would have Sonya take Mandy out, and then Otis saves her, and then on the other side of the ring, or not too far from them, someone would toss Sonya out, and Tucker would do the same thing. Now they could use Dolph, but no, I think Tucker would work. When the ladies both are saved and go back into the ring, you can also have Tucker and Otis do something, or you can have Chad Gable come out, and let's say he needs to save Mandy a second time like he had tried to do last year. Chad Gable's going to be a distraction to Otis, and he would fail in his attempt again, and this time Mandy would get eliminated. But keeping the focus on this is something that I would do, but I can kind of feel that this could happen, is that Sonya shows up and she gets tossed out by the Sexy Muscle Friends. if this happens, I shouldn't even say if this happens. I'm just, you know what, for now, I'm just going to say this is what I would do. Because I'm not going to go all crazy because, I'm privy to being wrong. I'm privy to being right. But this is what I would do. And that's exactly how I ended up being right about the Charlotte thing. Because I told you what I would do. Anyhow, this is what I would do. This is what I can feel. Sonya makes her way back. Especially with that promo that she cut when she returned. And I say, yeah, I could clearly see this. Sonya makes her way back. At a certain point in time, and I've also noticed this as well. I've noticed that every time Mandy and Dana are teamed up, Dana's the one that gets pinned. So at a certain point in time, it would bring back Fire and Desire and they would turn on Dana. But it's not my company. So it is what it is. But if I could just, if both of those ladies get rid of Sonya, don't be surprised. But I really do believe that either Mandy's going to be the one that's going to get rid of Sonya, Dana's going to be the one that's going to get rid of Sonya, Sonya's going to be the one that's going to get rid of Mandy, more than likely. And then, they might do an accidental thing where Dana knocks Mandy out just the way that Sonya got knocked out by... Sonya pushed Mandy out trying to hit Alexa Bliss, I believe it was. We shall see. The winner is, in my opinion, definitely going to be one of the three Bs. It's going to be Bayley, Belair, or Baszler. What I would do is, you know how they do the hustle where both feet landed? I would have all three of them get chucked. Somehow they all, they all end up going over, at the same time, tie. So now when you go into your next pay-per-view, I wouldn't even put them in the chamber. How I would set this up is that Bianca had made a comment one time stating that, hey, I never got a chance to get the NXT belt, so I would be interested in, getting that if ever the opportunity came back up again. So she makes her choice and she gets to challenge Io, or even if you're going to put, and this is at Mania, I think that now they should start elevating a little bit more, because if you're going to bring the NXT ladies to give them a taste of what it means to be up in the roster and have them on the Rumble, and then you're going to have Rhea from last year, Rhea and Charlotte, then why not, have another NXT women's title match? So have Bianca and Io, or even if you want to have Raquel Gonzalez and I expect her tomorrow as well, have like a three-way dance that could go, and then you can have the rematch with Bayley and Baszler, just because Shayna is the one that pinned Bayley in that three-way match. I think it was Becky, Baszler, 3Bs again, Becky, Baszler, and Bayley. I think it was Becky. That's when they had the Survivor Series. And then all that can be the setup into what you could, so many ways you could work it. You could have all three of the women land, and then don't put them in the chamber, let them all have their own separate matches that, if, depending on how you win, it will set up your WrestleMania match. So maybe even if you did something where Bianca, she wants the NXT thing, and then Raquel's like, well, you got to go through me, and then they have a match. Because I think in the next pay-per-view, Io and Toni Storm are going to go at it. But eventually, Raquel's going to get there. So let's say, you have Raquel and Bianca, they thump. Raquel takes the L, and it leaves Bianca to the match with Io at Mania. Baszler and Bayley go at it, and see, yeah, I can't even call this one. I mean, unless you have, I can't call this one because reason why is I really have no interest in seeing Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania. I did before they had the previous matches. If they would have waited instead of rushing it, I would have wanted to see, especially if they had that, because that was a Hell in a Cell match, right? They could have had the Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. You could do whatever you want, instead of just sticking to well, the Hell in a Cell could only be a Hell in a Cell. You could do whatever you want. But, I mean, technically, I might have even stated it last year, and I heard Ryback say the same thing. He should have pushed all this stuff back. He should push WrestleMania back to either June or July, and then do a follow-up with SummerSlam, and then just change all the writing. But not my company. Anyhow, so yeah, I would do something like that, where you have all three of them land at the same time. It sets up for the next pay-per-view, and then it sets up for WrestleMania. If somehow, because Charlotte's going to be in it, and somehow if you watched last year's, there was chemistry between, there was heat between her and Baszler. Somehow Baszler knocks out Charlotte, and that's going to cause Charlotte to there's the setup right there. You could also do something like that, so that it leads to the chamber where Charlotte will fight Shayna Baszler at the chamber. Bayley will fight somebody else, and it'll set up, either all the, if I went with the three of them, a three-way tie, the three of the B's got knocked out, that's kind of how I would set something up like that. But another idea that I caught watching last year's Rumble was that Belair had broken the record. She had 8 total eliminations in the Rumble. Now, with the story arc with her and Bayley competing on this EST-TER, a better, what better setup to have her and Bayley competing in the ring just to see, I mean, you may not outwardly say it, but then you can have like Corey Graves or one of the announcers state it as they're going, as they're competing in the Rumble, and then go, oh, remember last week when they were competing with basketball, these two women, they can't stand each other, or whatever. And it's all about, like the subplot within that story is how many, eliminations you got. And that can be in the, promos, on next week's follow-up, depending upon how they ended. That's how I would do it, at least. I'm expecting Nikki Cross, who we haven't seen. I was expecting, of course, Natty. I thought that maybe we might see Beth as well, especially watching last year and seeing that she eliminated Natty. But I had to think about the Pandy situation, and she just returned, physically to announcing on NXT. I know there were weeks where she was doing it from home. Just via audio. So I don't know if she's going to be there. I like it when she's there, especially with her and Natty. I had forgotten that Shotzi Blackheart was there. I was like, okay, for sure she's going to pop up this year. But yeah, I had forgotten that Shotzi Blackheart. That's when she had just arrived. And Reckoning, which is, Mia, I'm expecting her. I don't know if she's going to, have the mask deal on. I'm wondering what the hell they're going to do with Vanessa Bourne. If we're ever going to see her, or they're just going to release her out of her contract come, the week after April. And she can wrestle, man. I was watching her matches a few, weeks ago. She's talented. And we know that Chelsea Green is out. She's out. I had forgotten that she was in last year's, but I think her wrist injury, she's not expected to be back, I believe, until March. So, but then again, who knows? Could be wrong about these things. I was surprised. I forgot Dakota Kai, so I expect Dakota Kai to be there. For some reason, I don't think that Xia Li is going to be there this year. I could see Mercedes Martinez possibly returning, but I can also see the boss man, being the baby, and because she asked not to be a part of Ali's movement, that maybe he might dead that. I don't know. I was wondering if by chance Ember Moon's going to show up, since, now she's moved over there. CEO, I don't know, and the reason why I brought that up is because I completely forgot that Brock had the title when he entered into the Rumble last year. I'm sitting there looking at him like, wait a minute, you got the title? Like, oh, snap. I also had the concept, and this is a long shot, but I could see it happening. I could see Bayley being the first entrant, and going all the way to the end. I would play this because Bayley is known for having these like records. Longest one to hold the title, first Grand Slammer, things of that nature. It's like Sasha has the probably the best matches. Flair's going to be known for like her father's title runs, the longest, how many times she had the belts. And I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Becky now. If she showed up, I don't think that she should show up. I don't think Seth should show up either. I think there definitely should be a heel turn where she should be aligned with Seth. I really, really, really do. But if she does, she does. Back to Bayley. For some reason, it was just about her being interviewed with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold being the person to pull that off that time. And I can see it. If she's the first entrant, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes, all the way. And if she wins it all, it just goes right in alignment with that. But I mean, like, single-handedly wins it all. But like I said, I would set it up where I'd have the 3Bs win it simultaneously, and then they can run with that for weeks, just on the storyline. Of course, you've seen it before. Slow motions, look at the tape, this, that, and the third. And no, this is the second week we looked at it, and they all land at the same time, and yada, yada, yada. So, and then they build up to what they want to do with the women. So, that's basically it in a nutshell. As far as, surprises and things like that, we're going to see. It is what it is. I would be very interested to see if, and this is like my first time looking at it this way, they, utilizing the Royal Rumble as setups for possibilities for future, for the next pay-per-view. So if someone throws someone else out, we got a beef now. We got to settle it next week. Other than that, I don't understand I don't understand the whole Carmella situation. Actually, I had forgotten that Roman Reigns had a match earlier with Corbin, and then he was in the Rumble. So I didn't think that maybe Carmella would do the same, but I would not be surprised if she was entered in as well. But I still don't get how she has a second match with Sasha, despite not really beating anyone and climbing up the ranks like everyone else. I hope that Naomi shows up with something bomb. They do something inventive if she's going to do the same gimmick with her jumping. Like I said before, it would have been nice to see, as it is last year, I think, that if Kofi helped her out or something to that effect. So with that being said, I'm going to bid you an adieu. I'm out. Let's enjoy the show. For those that are going to enjoy the show, don't blow your lid. Don't get upset. It's just entertainment. I'm out. Thank you for listening in 2024. 5.